Alright guys, so now you are ready to start smoothing out your pieces. Alright, as you can see, this one's pretty rough. I have a lot of burrs happening here on my workpiece, okay? So there's a couple of different ways that you can smooth out your projects. First way is using sandpaper just by hand, alright? Second way will be using sandpaper on the palm sander. Third way is using a file, alright? So I'm going to start off with just talking about sandpaper right now, okay? So there's two different types of sandpaper that I have here. I have a 120 sandpaper and an 80, all right? So the difference between the two, the higher the number, the finer the grit, okay? So the lower the number, the rougher the grit. So we'd want to start off with a rougher grit and then move our way up, okay? So I'm going to start with the lower number, 80, and again, ending with 120, okay? Same thing with our palm sanders, okay? So I have two different bins, one with finer sandpaper on it, so higher numbers, like 120, and then I have a bin with lower grit numbers, okay? So make sure you choose the lower number first to take off any of those big burrs, and the 120 is going to be used after, all right, to really leave your project with a smooth finish. All right, so to use the sandpaper, just with your hand here, we're going to go with the grain. So again, the grain is going to be those lines, okay? So we're going to go with them. We don't want to go across, okay? If you guys go across, it's just going to end up, you're going to see a lot of lines that you don't want, all right? So let's just go with the grain. Go down. Try to get any of that rough debris, alright? So after you go with the 120, you work your way up to the 120, okay? Alright, so now it's time for the palm sander, okay? So remember with the palm sander, make sure it's turned off before you plug it in, okay? So I have my workpiece here, my project, in the table vise, but I have it sticking out just far enough, okay, that I can get my palm sander to it, alright? So again, with the palm sander, you want to try to go with the grain, okay? Leave it with a nice finish. Alright, so now you might be saying, what about the inside of the holes? Alright, how do we get all of those sanded out? Okay, so I have a little trick that I'm going to show you. So you're going to take a little piece of sandpaper, alright, roll it up tightly. See if I can do this with one hand. Alright, and you're just going to stick it inside of that hole and kind of spin it back and forth. Alright, that'll clean up the inside of the holes, okay? Alright, so like the sandpaper, alright, we have two different types of files, okay? One has a lot rougher of an edge, okay? One has a finer edge, alright? So depending on how much material you want to take off, really depends, okay? Now for this project, you will most likely not have to use the rougher file, so we could set that off to the side, okay? Now there's a couple of different ways you can use our file here, okay? One way is just going for it and just pushing, alright, to the material was a little bit rough right there, alright? So just dragging your file along the edge one way, one direction, okay? So you guys can see. Alright, so just moving your file along the edge, and as you guys can see, I'm getting kind of have an angle going, okay? The other way that you guys can do this is to hands, alright? Hold the file like this and move it along the edge, alright? Either way works. Alright, last but not least, you guys are going to want to sand down your pegs, okay? I'm just looking for a soft edge that you guys aren't going to get splinters from, okay? So, technique for sanding down your pegs is to just run your pegs along sandpaper just like this, okay? You can put them in the table vise if you want and run a file to them. All right, either way works great. All right, and that's how you sand.